if it's afternoon. I'm not sure, but it's good to, I don't know if it's 4 a.m. or 11 a.m. or noon. We're just working. It's that time. I do know it is the first day of school and the first day of practice, so a lot of excitement, a lot of joy about moving into a new season, new opportunity. But also we know that we have a lot of tests to pass as we kind of move forward, and whatever we've done in the past, we don't get grades for that. So we're really happy to get started again.
Scottie, can you maybe help us wrap our head around Jamison's improvement this offseason? I think we've all seen on the field the different routes that he's running, particularly the comeback stuff. How much of that was just assignments you kind of gave him and maybe just him going out on his own and turning some kind of corner?
Yeah, I think he started to turn a corner a long time ago. I can't really but you could see it, you almost around the corner. And then this offseason, where I think he grew the most is, I really talked to him about strength and getting better and stronger in his lower quarters and changing his body. Even if you don't change weight-wise, you can change strength-wise, and he's gotten a lot stronger. And probably there was a couple of carrots dangled to get stronger. To be able to get out of those breaks, you got to have, stronger lower quarters. And, man, he came back, and I could immediately see the difference in his body type, but also his movement skills. It became not just explosive, but it became a point where now I can go be explosive and still stop on a dime. If you watched him, his progression has been his ability to stop and start, or start and stop. Either way you look at it, he's done a good job of that. Change of direction for him has always kind of been one of the things he could do just naturally in his routes. But when you're able to slam on brakes and when you're able to turn at the top with lower pad level and some of the details he's doing with his arms and keeping them tighter and running through cuts, all you got to do is ask right now. He's in that mode of where he is ascending and he's taking the right steps, but he has to do it every single day. But he's very receptive in his body more than anything. I think he's tried to do what we've asked him to do, but now his body is physically in a spot where when he calls on it, it can respond.
Is that a lot of rookies over your coaching career? I'm just curious, what is it about Isaac that has made him get to a point where you guys feel pretty confident about his ability to not only help you on offense, but special teams as well? What was it about his camp or just maybe his demeanor that gave you guys an indication that, boy, I think he can help us pretty early?
One thing, he's resilient. It's a tough room. I'll say that, starting with me. So as soon as you come in as a rookie, especially at that position, there's sometimes some lofty expectations that are put on you, but we take those off really quickly when you come into the room because of the people that we have in the room, and not only the guys that I've coached, but the guys that I'm currently coaching now. So the one thing that we saw every day is no matter what we did to him to make him understand that's not good enough, he kept correcting it, and he continues to pass the next test, right? And it was, he has just a tremendous amount of humility without being humiliated even. Like, he just came in and did his job. And what we would see is he would take it from, the meeting room to the walkthrough to the individual drills to the practice tape. And when he failed in practice, he very rarely failed again in that same detail. So that lets us know, first of all, he cares, but it lets us know he's in his playbook. When you're in your playbook, you're going to get the respect of the people in the room. And when your mental errors are low, you get the respect of the people in the room. A lot of other people on the outside, they see playmaking and they think that's it. Well, you got to be in the right spot, especially now when the lights are truly on.
Back to Jamison for a quick sec. How much of that is your attention to detail, pointing out some of those things? I mean, sometimes as a player, you don't know what you don't know, so the arms being tight or the importance of the lower body strength, is that something that he just maybe didn't grasp before?
I think once you've heard it, it's like talking to anybody. You can maybe say it once or twice, but when you're leading with that constantly, it's going to have some type of an effect on you. So your coaching is definitely a part of it. But until the player is ready to receive it and go do it, so I always like putting it on the players. I think that when he's had good coaches before. There's no question about that. And it's just a point of when the player gets ready. Now it's up to the coach to get that person to a point of where they're ready. But when the player gets ready and it starts happening, and all they got to do is see it work on tape one time. I can remember seeing him run what we would call a snap route, or some other people would call it different thing, hinges. And he realized that at the top, he was able to just drop his weight without having 4 or 5 extra steps. Then we started to see him run that route in one-on-ones more and more, which is one of the harder routes because you're going to have an attached defender. So once the player is ready to receive it, and we do have to point out those things even when they're great players because we're trying to refine greatness constantly.
You saw that this summer or this offseason, saw that route work for him then?
Yes. It just became a part of now. Once he sees it work, and we already thought that we could get him strong enough there, now it becomes not only a part of what he does, but it's also a way that he can help us in ways that he did not.
Scottie, when you were scouting wide receivers around the draft, what stood out to you about Matthew Golden?
Tremendous speed to begin with. I thought he was very fluid. He had the ability to sink his weight, and he could catch the ball on the move. I thought it's one of the things that when a player can really catch it without slowing down, or they can pluck it and go, being quick to the tuck is what I like to call it. The quicker you are to the tuck, the yards after the catch happen. People think about that in the sense of a world of explosives and big plays. Not me. I kind of think of that in the sense of keeping the drive going. So when you have a fast guy that can pluck, not only can he keep the drive going, but now you get the explosive part after that. So it's a combination of that skill and that speed, but being able to catch it on the move, and then just being able to also come into a situation where he hadn't been there the whole time and beat great players and also compete every day. And then there's so many guys that were there to make plays. When he got his opportunity to make plays, it stood out.
Scottie, so much attention in your room is paid to Saint and J-Mo and even Tesla now. Do you feel like Khalif's in a spot to kind of remind everyone this season just how valuable he can be to this offense?
Yeah, I think we're in the building. I think we're completely reminded after the training camp he just had. In the spring he just had, it was probably one of the more consistent springs that we've seen at the wide receiver position of being here and being detailed. His catch-to-target ratio, his one-on-one wins, his ability to separate in tight coverage, his ability to make plays down the field. So we're tracking this a little bit different maybe than everybody else. Kind of we're just trying to make sure that we get the upper echelon out of each player, and he is playing closer to his roof now than he was before. So we really like where he is, and hopefully he can have a tremendous role in helping us this year.
Coach, you mentioned the test in Green Bay. What kind of test did the secondary here give your receivers over this whole training camp?
Yeah, we set it up to be as rugged as it possibly can be. One of the things that I really liked what our secondary did is they beat us up at the line of scrimmage. They roughed us up at the line of scrimmage. They held us. They grabbed us. Everything right at the edge of legality. A lot of it past that point. You hear me, Deshae? I hope you're listening, Shay. All right. So that challenge, just every day, we had to come to work every single day. Like when there was situations to where you are in one-on-one battles all the time, because we were in so many one-on-one battles at every position, at the slot position, at the 2 exterior positions. Somebody has to win every single play. And it's not going to be, we're giving up just a zone catch here or a curl catch here. Everything that we did was contested. So we got better and sharper in our routes, but we also got better when we couldn't separate at making contested catches. It was the best competition at the receiver and DB position all year, consistently all camp. So we were happy about that.
Scottie,
Time for 2 more, please.
when Brad formed the roster, it went down to 50, and he said 50 guys deserve to make this team. I think a lot of us saw Jackson Meeks and thought maybe he was on that border. A lot of good plays in practice, obviously a couple good games. What does he have to do? Where does he have to grow to take that step to be deserving of a roster spot in this league?
Man, I think he's deserving. Right, like in this league, I think he's a player that can play at a high level. Where we are as a program, right, is probably a great determining factor for some of that. We have gotten to a point with Dan and Brad to where I think we've done just about as best job I've been around of creating that echelon where it's so heavy at the top that the top and the middle are now close too. So breaking into that for anybody can be tough. What I'll say to him though is that his time is coming. You got to be ready when your time comes, and it is coming. I feel it. I think that, there's no holding him out of becoming a great player in this league. Just be ready, Mixie. Just be ready.
Where do you see Jahmyr Gibbs' evolution as a receiver? And obviously he was working a lot with you guys and individuals. I mean, How has he kind of evolved, and what could he possibly do there out wide?
Yeah, the more he stays around Saint, the better he'll be. Okay, so just watch Saint and do what Saint does. Now, the truth is, that is the case, but a lot like what I was talking about with Golden, if you can put him in situations to where he can get a little quicker to the tuck with the football, and he's a guy that can catch it on the move, not only will it make explosives, but it'll extend these plays. So we can see him a lot of different places. I think everybody in here knows he's physically talented enough to do everything that the receiver position can do, but now you have to have the knowledge and what they have of just a lifelong feeling of route running. Is the nickel buzzing? Is the nickel stand over the top of me? Is it cover two? So I got to get him thinking on the run a little bit quicker when he's at the receiver position, which he's done a good job. And I think that's the next point, just seeing it and experiencing it enough more.
A couple of months ago, when you talked,
And then Nolan, last one, please.
a couple of months ago when you made your transition to the receivers, you talked about your desire to get back to the passing game. Now, after being with them for a couple of months, I mean, you've been around these guys for the past couple of years, but working with them more closely for the past couple of months, what have you learned about this group?
Man, relationships. These guys, you can be close to someone, but until you're in the room with them, all of us that have, brothers that have lived in a room where you got two brothers in a room, or you got a brother in this room and a brother in that room, you can be tight. But when you live together, and it's one of the reasons why my little boys stay in the same room right now, all they have is each other. So we're in the same room, and now we know that they're depending on me, I'm depending on them, so the level of accountability is there. What I didn't understand about these guys, though, is just how truly, special they were as it comes to detail and hard work. And that's driven by Saint, it's driven by Khalif, it's driven by, Waymo. But that's something even that I didn't know about them. I felt like the backs were as good as they possibly can be. And then now you realize why our building truly is the way that it is. We got guys all over the building, the O-line, our linebackers, our secondary, our D-line that are just so attentive to detail, and they play hard, extremely hard.
You're entering your third season as an assistant head coach. What kind of tools and skills has that added to your kid?
Man, I tell you, coming in here, I probably had 3 hats. Now I probably got 25 hats. A lot of them to cover up the hair that I've lost since learning some of the things that I've learned. And it's just the big picture. You can get so involved when you're in a room that you can't see the building. Right. So what Dan has given me the ability to do since I got here is to see the building, not just from an offensive standpoint, but from a defensive standpoint and also administrative standpoint. So that's one of the things I got to say thank you to him for giving me the opportunity and not just giving me the title. Right. There's 2 different things. There's a title, and then there's the opportunity that creates your ability to see it from a head coach's position. And that's what he's been able to do for me.
How you guys doing? Oh, no questions. I'm good. We got practice.
Take us through the center swap and putting Graham there for now, looks like the season, and what went into that?
You know what? I mean, throughout his career, he's been a center guard. Really, at the end of the day, he's a football player, O-lineman, and he's a smart player on that. Early on, we got Tate reps there. I think that's one of the quickest ways to learn an offense and grow, is if you can do it. And he did a tremendous job in the spring, but at the end of the day, we felt a little bit better with Graham going in there and putting Tate back at guard. That's what he did for 4 years in college or 5 years, So that's really what it was. He wasn't playing bad or anything like that. But Grant's been a natural center in this league, a very smart player, dependable player. So having him in the room over the years, along with Frank, it's having 2 coaches on the field when he was here.
They always say a player makes his biggest leap from year 1 to year 2. I'm just curious what you've seen in Christian. Every time we've talked to Dan, he seemed pretty confident about his ability, the camp that he had. Just curious your perspective of the camp that he had and just how excited you are for him going into year 2.
I think just being around the whole time has been better for us, because he missed all camp last year, and then he, really jumped in later in the year and had to work his way back in. But just being around, being able to train, he's done a great job. He's got a great football IQ. You guys hear people talk about FEI, all that. Football IQ is really, it all started in college, I think, with their guys there, Boston College at the time. So he's been great. He's grown. He's still learning. I remind him he's a rookie still, by standards. He hasn't had enough games in the second year, but he's grown as a player. But he sees the field big picture, which is always a great thing when you're a young player if you can see the whole picture and just not, hey, this is my job, but he can focus on a little bit more than just, hey, I got to block the 3 technique or two technique this week. So, but we'll see. It's a big challenge for all of us this week and for him, and see how he goes.
Quarterbacks are most susceptible, obviously, to pressure up the middle. I mean, given the changes that have happened on the interior, how confident are you in the pass protection in that sector?
It's always protect inside out. Even, I always say the quickest way to the quarterback's through the A gap, so I feel good. We get challenged every week. Shep did a good job this year, training camp, OTAs. We get challenged every day with those guys, with their pressures, with their guys up front. So I think as long as we stay technically sound and do our job and fundamentally sound, we'll be fine. The rules are rules. We're going to see something maybe new that they have this week. Always game one. What's the new wrinkle for everybody? And but you stick with your rules and stay sound, and don't always remind these guys. And Graham's really our center. Has never chased ghost either and stuff like that. And just stay with it, and we can block everything because all our plays, all our protections, all our run games, they have rules. And they could line up in anything they want to do, something they've never shown last year or, never shown at all. But rules take place and just trust what they've been doing, in the training.
Along those lines, I mean, Mike in Dallas was moved around a lot. I mean, he's a unique player in that regard. I mean, lining up sometimes in the middle, too. Do you anticipate that, they're going to use him in a similar fashion, or given the fact that he doesn't have many reps, though, kind of going into this?
Again, I think the guy's trained his whole career to play football, so, he's got a different jersey on. We're anticipating him to play. Now, how many reps that is, that's on those guys in Green Bay and really Prey himself. He is a good player. He can cause havoc. When he was in Dallas, he can cause havoc. They definitely moved him around there. I would anticipate we're the same way. We have rules, and when they want to move guys or stuff like that, we have certain rules we follow, and he definitely can be a force off the edge or in the middle when they stand up. When he was in Dallas, rushing through the middle of the A gap, but he can be a special player. But we've instead of now facing them once a year, I feel like every year we've played Dallas. Now we get them twice a year, and they have a lot of good players. Can't forget about Gary on the edge. Walker in the middle at linebacker. They have a lot of good pieces. Kenny Clark for years is now down there, and some guys are, we don't have to see him. Oh, we play Dallas again later this year, but he was a heck of a force in the middle, and they gotten a little bit younger inside. But those young guys have gotten better every year too. All those young guys, and I'm sure they've learned a lot from losing Kenny inside. He was that leader inside. So, but leadership kind of moves, and it's probably now outside. As their leaders on defense. So, everybody presents challenges. Parsons no different. He's a challenge. Is he going to line up over Panay, Decker, Graham, 3 technique? We'll see how they want to use them. And it's really about how quickly he picks up their system and what do they want to do. But at the end of the day, we've faced him a lot, and he has caused some issues for us, and we've also gotten the best of him too. But he's gotten the best of us too. So it's a battle over there. So it's exciting. He got there. I saw the trade, and I just told our guys, hey, we were going to block him later in the year. Now we get him twice a year.
Just to go back to Glasgow for a minute, you talked about him, never chasing ghosts, and his intelligence kind of speaks for itself. But maybe you can just expand on that a little bit. The experience that he has, being a veteran, how much that just settles everything down in terms of the IDs.
I think it settles the whole offense down. Confidence. It probably starts. Sometimes you say with the quarterbacks, right? They know somebody in front of them can control it, take charge. That's what you want, and. So Goff and him are always on the same page. Anytime somebody had to go down, he always moved right back in there at center, and sometimes, what's your best 5 or 6? Is it better to move 2 parts, So he just calm everybody down and just go with your rules. Like I said, it's the first game of the season. There's going to be something maybe new that we're not prepared for to see, and just don't chase it. As long as we're all on that same page, we can make it right, So, but he's a calming presence for everybody. Guys can, his note taking is one of the best I've been around. And, he really keeps all his old notebooks from last year. They're still stacked up there. So, like all his Green Bay notes from last year, he's already referencing, oh, well, we did this last year. Are we doing this again? And they're so detailed out. And he keeps them there for the year. That's how him and I would say Ragnow were. Their books all stayed there for the years, and they just keep it going like a library for them. So, but he's a smart player. He's been in the league for a long time, year 10, I believe this is for him, and he's done it all from right guard, center to left guard. So, I'm glad we slid him back in there. And like I said, Tate was doing great though. Honestly, he was doing great, and we got him younger, which is good for us too.
From your perspective, what is this year about for Giovanni Menu? And if everything goes according to plan, what can we expect from his growth over the next few months?
He's just every day he's trying to get better. I would say he's come a long ways from last year. He's not to where we want him to be yet, and he's not where he wants to be yet. But the good thing about him is he works hard at it. It's not perfect. The thing is, a lot of people point out always the glaring mistakes, and that's what O-line, especially pass pro, can't. We get beat. There's no way saving us normally. It's just not going to be the case, Maybe the ball gets out in time, but we still got beat. There's nobody, we can't. There's not a back just standing back there waiting for us to get beat and help us out. So that's where it is. He's just being the consistency, and he's gotten more consistent. And in time, we're going to have to count on him somewhere down the line here. I think we're going to have to count on all the guys that we have in our building here. And that the nice thing about the NFL now, there's that practice squad, and you keep vets on the practice squad. So you got guys like Dan Skipper still here, and those guys we can lean on, Jamarco. But I think Gio, when his time's called, he's going to be ready to play for us, and he's gotten better. And we're looking forward to him contributing this year.
Just mentioned Jamarco, he's been in your program for a year. What did he do to kind of claim that swing spot for you this offseason?
Unfortunately, you can't put everybody on the roster. So he was very consistent. And again, he was one of the guys that came in late, was here all off season, and he was very consistent at playing either tackle spot. And, he's earned it. I think everybody in this building, practice squad or roster, earned their right to be here. It's not a charity. Coach isn't going to hand it out. We're not going to hand it out. But he went and he earned that spot. And, if you look at our roster, how it's compiled, there's 9 guys on the roster for the O-line. So I always tell those guys every year when we start this training camp or the process is, man, my job is get us right, Detroit Lions right, you guys, but man, get you a job. If it's not here, it's with 31 other teams and hopefully on a roster somewhere. We'd love to have them all back, in which we were able to keep a lot of guys back on practice squad, but those guys that are in that, holding, we're going to need them. We're going to need Skip. We need Nice, all those guys.
He said he wanted to get bigger and stronger this offseason. Did you see that? Did it show up? And I guess, how does a guy like him get better?
Every day he's training. He's a special guy. He's coaching. I don't know if anybody noticed, but even in preseason games when he's not playing, he made sure he had an earpiece and he got the play call. And he got to the iPads before I got to him, and he's already coaching the guys. So as a player, he's always coaching, and that's his goal is always to be, he's a good player. He's a great player at times too. He wants to be great. And he has that drive to be great, and he knows he's not perfect. And that's what's fun to coach him about. Like yesterday, we had practice, not in pads. We worked a couple combinations. He didn't feel right. He was like, no, I need to go again. And he went 3 or 4 times in a row, where other players might be like, I'll get it later. That's what makes him great. Like today, watching and there, he's watching individual drills. He's watching himself on his sets, his pass sets. And this is individual. This isn't even going against anybody. Actually hitting a med ball. But he's watching himself. That's what makes him special. So bigger and stronger. I don't know how much stronger you can get, but you're always growing and maturing. But he's in a great spot, and I love being where he's at as a player and also as a mentor to these guys.
I think versatility is so important, particularly for backups. I'm just curious, what goes into deciding whether a guy can be a center? A guy like Coyote or Moody, like why don't those guys do center at this stage of their career? Is it too big of a challenge?
Yodi is my emergency tackle center, left tackle. I tell him that all the time. He's actually done it in practice one time last year. We were down so many bodies. I'm like, hey, you're going to play scout team center. And he did. He goes, wow, it's not as easy as I thought it was. But for us, at least, center position, you got to the smarts, the thinking, the quick thinking. There's that. That's probably number one for us. But then the agile, there's a lot of stuff body-wise. You know, you're closer to the ball. Can you reach shades in this league? That's one of the hardest things to do. Can you reach a 2-eye? Can you reach those shades? But the thinking, can I get snap? Can I process fast enough? And guys that can process fast enough and the picture changes, how quickly you can process it. It's just like a quarterback. Can I process it right before the snap, make the right calls? You got to be able to do that. And if you can't do that, normally it's hard to play center in this league anywhere across the league, you know, and that's where sometimes, you know, not saying they just can't be guards, because Yode's a very smart player. He could process things, but he's best suited for us being guard, swing tackle. But I joke with him, he has taken snaps for me, but he could process. But being a center, you got to be able to process fast. And sometimes you see us break the huddle very fast and get up there and make a call and go. Well, you got to process it and see it all big picture wise. So that's the tough thing. It's in the offseason, or talking to any rookies and guys like Tate. I mean, his interview was great. He could process, put them under pressure, how quick he can fire it out. If you install something, how fast they get it back to you. If they got to think, I joke with them all the time, delay a game, timeout, you know, but make you guys think fast. And that's what centers have to be able to do. Just like Jarrett dropping back's got to distinguish cover 2, cover 3, you know, fire zone, all this, you know, that's how fast a center has to do it.